Welcome to the Numerology and Astrology for May 1st, 2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 10. And so notice that from yesterday, the 30th of April, to today, we have backed up one number, backed up one position, so that we can kind of learn to stand on our own 2 feet and to review and reflect maybe where we were going yesterday and what maybe we are lacking in order to get there. And the number 10 is the 10 of personal power and radiance, individuality, strength, determination, and drive. And so today, you have to love yourself enough to step onto your own path. Another's path is not going to work for you. No one's path will ever really work for you. You have to learn to be brave enough to stand up and take responsibility for your actions and choices that have led to these consequences. You cannot expect others to walk your path, nor should you expect yourself to be able to walk the path of another. At first in life, we think that power is about being a teacher or a guru, somebody who's powerful and in charge and enlightened. But then you eventually realize that each person is human, and that while they may have figured something out that worked for the development of an enlightened perspective, they will still have human issues that they are really working through. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you cannot exactly walk the path to enlightenment of another teacher. Realistically, you cannot because you do not have their culture, their DNA, their experiences, or their understanding. That is the moment when all students and disciples decide that they have to learn to walk their own path and be willing to let life teach them. They have to learn to trust in their ability to discover the wisdom that presents in their own life, to map out their own pathways to enlightenment, and to learn to trust that the path that they are on is the right one for themselves at this time. That is why power must be earned through experiences. Power handed to someone without going through a process of earning it is an open door to create those that become dictators, megalomaniacs, and dangerous leaders. Today, own your life and your path as the correct one for you, and know that another's path is right for them, but that does not mean it is the direction that you need to go. Remember that life is the greatest teacher and guru of all, and chuckle that this great teacher is a woman, Mother Earth. Okay, the astrology for today. This month, I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview for May, the whole month of May. And there's 2 bigger shifts that are happening that can impact you. And the first one is that the nodes of the moon move out of the Cancer-Capricorn tangent where they have been since November 2018 and into the Gemini-Sagittarius cycle. This starts May 4th. And it will go for 1.5 years. And this will make you feel as if you're getting out of a deep rut that you have been caught in because it's been a lot of heavy earth stuff happening, a lot of heavy earth energy. And the fresh air of Gemini Sagittarius will create a radically different feel. You become more open to ideas and you allow a new way of communicating to mature in your psyche. It will be crystal clear that the old ways of thinking have created this painful world, and it is just as clear that you will have to make radical changes also. On May 13th, Venus starts her retrograde cycle, and you're going to look at all your relationships and finances in a very new light. You realize that what is happening radically shifts your priorities around both. Ambitious Mars goes into Pisces on the 13th and will be there until the end of June. These 3 planets were in a triple alignment in Capricorn and go retrograde. Pluto began that journey on April 25th. Saturn will go retrograde on May 10th and 11th, and Jupiter will follow suit on May 14th. I hope this gives us a reprieve from the coronavirus and it will help us give us a chance to kind of catch up in what's going on in the world. All right, so let's look at May 1st. So May begins quietly. The moon is in Leo on Friday, and it gives a warmer and more friendly perspective. So do your best to be optimistic and see that there are those ways that you can move that will be good for everyone. So move in a generous fashion with those around you, and you need to be strong, and you need to define what you want in your world and how you want your world to look like in the future. Know that no matter what, you cannot go back, nor would you really want to. Being blind to what was really happening in the past did not solve the problems that happened in the world. Ignoring terrible things that continue to happen will not heal the suffering of those that are experiencing them. Change requires enough upset to shift the perspective of a lot of people. There is a moon opposition of Mars around lunchtime, and it can make some competitive and combative. Some will not listen and react in passionate, though not intellectually sound ways. Some are not willing to accept what is happening and will react rather than respond. When people do get what they want, they will lash out at those that are in their way. There are two ways to work this type of energy. You can allow it to excite you or make you more emotionally intense. Fear of loss is fueling both. I prefer to work this form as much positive energy as possible. Self-restraint and respecting another's boundaries is a critically important thing to learn. Some do not get this lesson as a child, and so they want to push and push and push until they get what they want. But such a path will never really give you happiness, nor will you really get what you're looking for. We are headed towards a Mars-Chiron semi-square. As it comes in today, it hits full on tomorrow, but as it comes in today, you may notice that standing up for anything is very uncomfortable, and there will be those that are angry that they cannot get what they desire in a direct manner. Life is showing all of us a significant detour that actually needs to happen in our reality. Okay, my quote for the day. I wish for a time and place where everyone could give all living things space, just to breathe and be. But I understand that wounding happens, and those wounds cause all living things to react and respond in ways that end up causing more suffering. And my blog today is a mixture, so I have a poem at the beginning, and then I have a Peru story because everybody likes my Peru stories. They like the stories in general, so thanks you guys for giving me all the feedback on that. So clearly I'm doing these stories to kind of inspire people to think of something, anything besides what's happening in the negative in the world. So I'm trying to help us find doorways that inspire and uplift. So my poem for today. May nature return to what has always been. May mankind change into being more human. I wish for a world with clean air, oceans blue and free of despair, wild spaces that are alive, a world in which all things can thrive. So, my Peru story. So, once when I was in Peru, we were in a small town outside of Cusco, and there was a market there, and there was a seller who was on the steps of the church that was selling this beautiful alpaca wool, and I was a knitter and took interest in his amazing wool, and while he did not speak a word of English and my Spanish was limited at best, we were managing well enough when he closed up his shop and started motioning for me to kind of follow him. Now, normally this would sound like a very bad idea as we are moving further into the dark and narrow alleys of a small town. There was something about his demeanor and the kindness in his eyes that made me feel as if I would be okay and safe. We get to the doorway of an old stone building, and he opened the door with a big old key, one of those big metal old keys, like something out of a prison cell door, and in we went. This was his shop, and he was very proud of it. Once we were inside, he began showing me all types of wool and all his tools for carding and separating the wool. He insisted that I card the wool with him. Then he showed me how to spin the wool with a hand spinner, and we did that for a while. It was a lovely cultural experience where this was what he wanted to show me and teach me. This was his skill in the world. This was a type of sharing in love. He was a beautiful, weathered old man with bright eyes and a toothless smile, and it just didn't stop. That smile just did not stop. He was content in who he was and proud of his ability and his shop. Needless to say, I bought $100 worth of wool, all the while wondering how I was going to get this back to the U.S. because $100 worth of wool in Peru, that was a lot of wool. It was like a whole suitcase full of wool. So I later discovered that in Peru, there is a tradition that's called Tinqui. The tradition is that if you have a skill that another does not have, culturally, it is important to share that skill with another, and that you share to the point that they become competent with that skill. It's kind of a social obligation to share abilities and a cultural norm. As Americans, we want everything to be our idea. We are a country that does not like to share. But the opposite is in Peru. You are obligated to share if you have something that another might need, and you are here to teach them what you know with love, compassion, and grace. I just wonder how different our world would be if we adopted that ability more in life. Okay, thanks everybody. You have a good day. Bye.